Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, July 22nd, 2016, the WNW 247. Well, Trump is the man. He is the Republican nominee for president of the United States in 2016, a little more than 100 days away. And before I get into that, I want to explain to you a little bit about my political views. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I am a trained investigative reporter, worked at 5 TV stations and 2 networks. I always work with lawyers, that's the legal, standards, that's the ethical, and editorial, that's the journalism. And I had to be so careful when I went out and did stories. I mean, I did stuff on depleted uranium munitions with all the, the terrible side effects. I did stuff on fraud and crime and victims and airbags, and I had to be very careful. And people say that, well, you were an investigative reporter, and people, oh, I'm an investigative reporter. What it really was a paralegal. I put together the information and the facts and the data that I needed to support a case. And then I had to take that case to the lawyers. I had producers, I had help, I had good people. And I came up with a lot of ideas, and I had other people to help me. But that's basically what an investigative reporter does. We have a victim, or we have an idea for a story, and then can we prove that story? And I never was a Republican or a Democrat when I did that. I was always an independent. I was always, what's the numbers say? What are the facts? And the reason why I have stuck up for Trump is because fairness has been beaten into me. When I see this over-the-top, unfair, biased reporting by the mainstream media, and when I was at the networks, I mean, they at least tried to be fair and weren't so overtly, against Republicans, but they're over the top now. It's unbelievable. It's not even journalism anymore. It's just political spin doctoring at the mainstream media. It's unbelievable. Now, I will tell you that because the establishment in the Democratic Party, some of the establishment, criminal cronies, and some of the establishment in the Republican Party, criminal cronies, both hate Trump, at least some of them, makes me like him. For both parties to hate him so bad, must be doing something right. And he did do something right. He got more votes than anybody ever in the primary season, and he is now the nominee. And before I get into talking about the people not basically standing up, not endorsing Donald Trump like they said they were going to do, like they signed a pledge to do, I want to talk about his opponent. Folks, this is an off-the-chart type election. This isn't about somebody that wants to spend more on military and, a candidate who wants to spend more on social programs. Oh, no. This is about freedom, and this is about tyranny. This is a war against freedom and tyranny. And I just want to bring up Hillary Rodham Clinton. Now, Dr. Ben Carson came out and spoke on the floor. Love Dr. Ben Carson. Came out and spoke, and he brought up the fact about Hillary Clinton, who loved Saul Alinsky, who wrote the book Rules for Radicals. Saul Alinsky was a communist, neo-Marxist. He doesn't believe in God, Christianity, doesn't believe in the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. He doesn't believe in the pursuit of happiness, unless it's its own twisted happiness. He dedicated his book to Lucifer. And when I first saw this, I thought I'm talking about that. Well, the mainstream media is not going to touch that. Oh yeah, Jeff Bezos owned Washington Post is going to try to tamp that down. I was shocked they tried to do that, so they're worried about this little narrative. And here's the headline from the Washington Post: Hillary Clinton, Saul Alinsky, and Lucifer explained. They're going to try to explain this. Ben Carson describes this, the quote from the article. Ben Carson describes Alinsky as one of Clinton's heroes and mentors. Those terms are highly debatable. Yeah, I bet they are if they make your candidate look like the communist Marxist that she is. Yes, in my opinion. Yes, they're debatable, but no, they're really not debatable. Then they go on to say that here's how this is their come line of the story. The implication is your opponent believes the same controversial things and is guilty by association. No, Hillary Clinton is guilty because she's guilty. They didn't just ride the same train car together. They didn't just show up at the same art exhibit together. Their 2 kids didn't stay go to school in the same school together. Oh, no. Again, this is the Washington Post article. Clinton brought Alinsky to Wellesley College in 1969 to deliver a speech, and in her thesis, she wrote a thesis about Saul Alinsky. In her thesis, she refers to his compelling personality and his exceptional charm. She interviewed Saul Alinsky. They hit it off big time. Saul Alinsky offered her a job. They weren't just, together somewhere. He offered a job to work for her, this neo-Marxist communist, and she thinks he's great, wrote a thesis about his work, Rules for Radicals, and the rules for radicals is how to subjugate a country and turn it communist and take away freedom and liberty and their Constitution and their Bill of Rights and their God and everything else. The God of the country is the government, which you and I both know is totally wrong. She turned down Mr. Alinsky for work because they had some major differences. And here was their major difference. Alinsky thought you could change the system from the outside in. Clinton said, oh no, you have to do it from the inside. You have to do it from the inside. You let that sink in. So the Democrats want to put up this person that fawned all over a neo-Marxist communist, hater of individual rights and freedom, and she wants to change it, and they want to make her the president of the United States, hold the highest office in the land. This is a fight that is nothing short of a fight between tyranny and liberty. I'm not even going to tell you, I'm not even going to get into the political Democrat-Republican tyranny and liberty, lawlessness and the rule of law. Look at Hillary Clinton, lawless. FBI confirmed liar. Jeopardized the national security of the country. She said that she had a multiple servers because she just only wanted to have one device. Lie. No, I think it's because she was selling favors at the State Department, lots of favors for billions and billions of dollars, and she wanted to cover that up. A favor like, a shell company, after donating $145 million to the Clinton Foundation, a donation, this shell company ended up selling a big chunk of our uranium rights to Russia. Things like that. Lying, treason, fraud, obstruction of justice, things like that. This is a fight between tyranny and freedom. And so when this weasel, Ted Cruz, gets up and doesn't do what he signed a pledge to do, endorse the nominee of the Republican Party, he gets booed. And not only him, Jeb Bush, John Kasich, I'm sure when they were signing the pledge to endorse the eventual, I'm going to be the nominee. George, Bush, I'm going to be the, I'm going to be the nominee. Kasich, no, I'm going to be the nominee. Cruz, no, I'm the fairest one of all. I'm going to be the nominee. I used to think the moniker Lion Ted was a little over the top. Well, not anymore. Lion Ted, you deserve it. And the Texas delegation, they're pissed that he didn't do what he signed a document saying he would do, and that's support the nominee. Now later, the next day, he doubles down. He said disparaging thing about my wife and about me and about my dad. And, hey, well, pull your little shorts up, little boy. If you can't handle national politics and the rough and tumble play of national politics, you shouldn't be in it. You shouldn't sign something that says you're going to endorse somebody, especially when we're in the fight of this country's life. And you're so selfish and petulant like a child, you and Kasich and Jeb Bush, selfish and petulant, childish, that you aren't getting behind to stop somebody who is, who idolizes and fawns all over a communist Marxist? You're kidding me, right? You could say that Ben Carson fawns all over all over Ronald Reagan, and he does. No, the best the Washington Post could do was, that's implication, guilty by association. No, she's guilty because she's guilty. That's why she's guilty of exposing her, and that's why I think it's very unusual that the Washington Post tried to tamp that down. They must think that's a problem area now, don't they? Another little piece of thought shaping was on Zero Hedge and not Zero Hedge. I'm sorry, Infowars, which I love both sites. They came up after this Nice truck attack and talked about how every media outlet they could find was talking about the terror attack, the radical Islamic terror attack in Nice, France. Where 84 people got either mowed down or shot. By this radical Muslim terrorist. I said that the driver got shot outside the truck. He got shot inside the truck. My bad. But still, what the mainstream media didn't want to do was say it was a radical Islamic terror attack. They knew it was a terror attack right from the beginning, and it didn't take them too long to get it to radical Islamic terror. And I thought, I wonder if my favorite paper, the USA Today, would do the same thing. Sure enough, they did. Hats off to Infowars for pointing this out. Here we go. This is the weekend edition, and here's the Nice truck attack, dreadful attack. And here, a truck plows into crowd, killing dozens in France. Oh, it's a truck. It's like, that movie Christine where that car had a brain of its own and would kill people. It's a truck plowed into a crowd, killing dozens in France. Not that it was a truck driven by a crazy radical Islamic terrorist killed people in France. Oh, no. It's the truck. It was just a truck accident. You would think, if you just read that, you would think, some truck, got out of control and headed off a highway. No. Thought shaping, thought control. My favorite paper, once again, USA Today. They did have a good picture for a change for the GOP, Make America Great Again. They did have that. I got to give them credit for that. Credit where credit is due. But here we are again. These dreadful shootings in Louisiana, Baton Rouge, and in Dallas, Texas. These dreadful shootings. Here we are again on the 19th of this week, the 19th of July 19th. Here is the headline. Check this out. Army seeks bomb for veterans' rage. The Army seeks bond they're talking about the shooter in Baton Rouge, that he was in the Army, and it's the Army's fault. It's their raging, comes up with some bogus facts. I don't even know if they're true. What a cut on our military people! Like they all come back, 40% of them come back, so raged, they just have to start killing people. But of course, they conveniently in this story leave out the fact that the shooter, both shooters, Dallas and in Louisiana and in Baton Rouge, were ferocious racist. Talked about crackers and wanted to kill white people. Also, the Baton Rouge shooter was a new convert of 3 years to Islam. Was also both shooters involved with the Nation of Islam. But yet, the USA Today paints this false narrative, and maybe this is part of it, but no, come on. Ferocious racist and links to Islamic terror. Links to Islamic, radical Islam. And they double down on this, later on in the week. Here we are. Here's another little thought. The protests are peaceful. Yeah, only because there's 10,000 cops there ready to cuff them and jail them. Yeah, they're peaceful. But back to this. Here we are. The, Baton Rouge shooter tells mother, the VA didn't help me. Again, it's the Army's fault. It's the VA's fault. Not that he was a ferocious racist and was a Muslim convert and was partial to the Nation of Islam group. Not that. No, it's the VA. Now, listen, the VA have their troubles, and Donald Trump has outlined that these horrible thing. But again, we're painting a false narrative and leaving out a lot of facts. Like radical Islam and radical racism. Everybody thinks that the racism is from white to black, but never from black to white. Crackers and I want to kill white people. That's not racist? Unbelievable. Let's get into the economy, the non-recovery, which is, they basically, I've been telling you that they've kind of stopped using the recovery, even though they're talking about this, the stock market going sky high. That's fake, folks. That's fake, and I want to illustrate why. It's basically contrived and intervention and pumping it up through nefarious means. Here we have this energy giant Schlumberger fires another 8,000. This brings their total to at least 16,000 in 2016 as market conditions worsen in the second quarter. Now, we're not talking about 29-hour-a-week jobs that pay $7.50, $8.50, $10.50 an hour. We're talking about the oil industry. And the internet industry was about the only bright spot in the ever since the recession of or the super recession of 08 and 09 caused by the subprime crisis and the criminal bankers on Wall Street. But I digress. That's the only bright spot. These are jobs that pay 50, 60, 70, 80,000 a year, and they're laying off at just one company, Schlumberger, big company. They still have 100,000 people about working for them. But, another 8,000 brings up to 16,000 people in 1 year. And let me tell you a hint of what might be going on. The red line is West Texas crude. That's WTI, West Texas oil. And you can see, oil prices basically going, had a little lift here, but going down. And then you have the stock going up and then kind of going sideways over here. And, there's a big gap here between the price of the stock and, the oil that they're making their earnings on. The big gap there. And then if you look, I got this off also on Zero Hedge. It's a B of A chart, and of course Zero Hedge said they need a bigger chart. Like the movie. You need a bigger boat than Jaws. Here we have this price to earnings ratio, which is the price of the stock measured against the earnings, and it's something like 44 point something. It's huge. A normal P to E ratio for stocks 10 to 15 times earnings. The earnings times 10 or times 15. We're talking the earnings times 44. It's off the charts, folks. It's crazyville. And if you look at how they report this, a little more thought-shaping, can't really give you the real picture of how terrible it is and how we have record all-time high, and earnings are really don't support record all-time highs in the Dow and in the NASDAQ. And here we have, as Dow lifts off, returns look, less than stellar. No, they're doing bad. Earnings are not good. They do not match what is going on with these record highs. I talked to my friend Gregory Mannarino, and he called me up and said, hey, a couple of big things about the ECB. I said, okay, hit me. He says, well, they just came out and they said basically, quote, about negative rates, quotes, we're going to have them for a, quote, extended period. That's the quote. Going to have negative rates for, quote, an extended period. He said also that Mario Draghi, head of the European Central Bank, ECB, says that, the public may have to get involved in bailout of these sour debts. Bail out the banks. Oh, that'd be a bank bail-in. Just take your money. Not print it, just take your money. And, Mannarino was talking about for a long time, saying at some point, all this intervention and all the things they're doing to prop things up, the interest rates, the money printing, the negative interest, it's going to turn to poison. So I asked Mannarino, did we reach our hemlock moment? That's poison, hemlock. And he says, we're close. We are close. And he said, let me tell you why I say that. He says, so we just had these two big announcements that we're going to have, negative interest rates for extended period of time, and they're going to bail out the banks. In other words, hey, you investors, you're not going to lose your money because we're going to steal it. And he says the market should have taken off like a rocket, but it didn't. It sold off. He says, we're getting to the point where all this intervention, and he also brought up the fact that not that it's just going to turn to poison. He said, well, it's called the law of the diminishing returns. That's the poison. At some point, you got a body. It's dead. You're trying to pump them full of oxygen. You've got fluids trying to put them on. You're trying to pump their chest. They're dead. Done. You're not going to be able to keep them alive with an iron lung or for more fluids or a breathing machine or whatever. At some point, you're just pumping on a dead body. And he says that's the law of diminishing returns. That's what he means by saying that, it's going to turn to poison. And he says we may be there, but if we're not there, we're getting very close. Which brings me to, how do you protect yourself? How would you protect yourself? I got really smart people on here, and I'm not just saying this to curry favor with my readers and the commenters, the viewers, and things like that. No, visitors. I'm not. I just really have smart people, and sometimes these smart people, do some street reporting, and they're a little afraid to come out because the information they have is really important. And here's a little piece of information I got this week from somebody, and he verified who he was. I had email back and forth with him, and listen to what this is just a part of what he wrote. I sell forklifts here in the U.S. and just received a confidential form that shows our forklift company just changed policy to accept gold and silver for payment options. Cash and lease were the only options in the past. But let's read that again. They're going to accept gold and silver. So he sends me the actual form, and he also sends me a redacted copy, and he sent me the actual form, which if you saw the company, you'd say, oh boy, they do business globally. And here's the form, and here is the place, and let's just get in here. So here's the form, and this is the discount request, you know, the competitive discount. This is what you fill out for your payment to get whatever in there. And then this is your payment schemes, and look at the bottom there. Let's start over here. Let me see if I can focus this up. Let me hold it. Come on, honey. Let me get it. There you go. So you have your options of cash, lease, gold and silver. You can pay with gold and silver. This is a company that does business internationally. You've heard of them. And they are now taking cash. You can lease it. You can pay us with gold. And you can pay us with silver. And we're not talking about shares of SLV and GLD. Talking about gold and silver. It's what a piece of information that is. A major company getting a little nervous about being paid in paper. A little nervous. I've said before that we've been told debt is money and debt is an asset. We're going to find out neither is true. Now, could the dollar strengthen? Yes, it could strengthen and could get a lot stronger. But, I digress. So that at some point it's going to hyperinflate. But it could get really strong as on the way down. Just want to get to this here real quick. Talking about, thought shaking. Got to put this on. This is on the business section. And, the paper, the Justice Department, after letting Hillary Clinton off with one crime after another and not taking any questions, Loretta Lynch in Congress, while the Justice Department, the Obama administration, have some rehabilitating to do. And the USA Today will be happy to help them out, I am sure. And that's what they're trying to do. Here is Leonardo DiCaprio. He played a character in the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and that's the character. And then they're talking about they're taking action against the real person, the real people that were involved in stealing this money and getting these sovereign wealth funds. And here's Loretta Lynch, but one of her attorneys said this. Now, please breathe this in here. We will not allow the United States to become a playground for the corrupt. That's rich. We will not allow the United States to become a playground for the corrupt. You got to be kidding me. This is, of course, she speaks for Loretta Lynch, but this is Ellen Decker, the Los Angeles-based U.S. attorney. Maybe somebody should tell her we just let Hillary Clinton off with one lie after another. Maybe that we should tell Miss Decker that, let's see, we've had the banks admit and be convicted of rigging the London Interbank Offered Rate, which does hundreds of trillions worth of interest rates around the world, that they were convicted and admitted, multiple banks, to rigging the Forex market, which is a $5.3 billion day. The robo-signing was nothing more than forgery, perjury, and fraud on the court. We had another big primary dealer of treasuries, and that came over to this side of the ocean, admit to rigging the gold and silver price. We'd had one thing after another. In 2013, we find out that I had last week's story that HSBC, the Justice Department, waived off charges for HSBC. They paid a $1.9 billion fine. Among some of the things they were doing, laundering money for drug cartels and terrorists. And we're not going to let the United States become a playground for the corrupt. You have to be kidding me. This is unbelievable, folks. And the media, for them to, like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone, it's like some big surprise is outrageous. We don't have a functioning media. We do on the internet, but, the internet media has its problems too, but still way better than the mainstream media. We're not getting any truth from the mainstream media. It's devolved into some us against them or some political spin. Most of the media, NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN, just look for ways to prop up their candidate and tell lies, basically, and spin doctor the news to try to make it as best they can. Hillary Clinton is a horrible, flawed candidate. The Democrats have a horribly flawed message. And I said it from the beginning, and I'll say it again. We are in the fight of this country's life. It is nothing short of a fight between tyranny and freedom. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and donations. Donations help us out. Remember, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father is in charge.